One. And we are recording with Mr. Roger Williams, author of my favorite book, The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, which will be in the description. Buy it now before Nuclear Armageddon, because it's coming. And that's why I interviewed. So I've had on before David Stumpf. He wrote like a definitive history and somehow declassified schematics of like the Titan II missile and the Minuteman III. Very they're less of they're books, but they're almost like encyclopedias. They're so detailed, and there's not it's not like there's a plot or some theme. He's just explaining what the
Mm.
missiles are down to like the alloys and the nose cone. But I had him on
Anything
yesterday.
that thousands and thousands of people worked on cannot stay a secret.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
it's just
Well, plus it's all
yeah.
the he covers like the primarily the Titan II, which is decommissioned. But I had him on because at the end of his book Minuteman, which he and I did like last May, he mentioned like the replacement ICBM, which is going to be called the Sentinel. And I don't really know anything about it. I was just like, well, it's an ICBM, but
Never heard of that. Yeah.
yeah. And apparently it is. It's going to be like fully, I guess, fully designed, built, and replacing the Minuteman by 2030. Um, but the thing is about the reason I did it was to cover, if I like to try to get ahead of a story, and it seems like
Of
we're marching
course.
towards World
Yeah.
War III. So I was like, might as well get some product placement and understand at least the form of missile that's going to be raping us to death. And but I guess the Sentinel is just there's not a whole lot of because like you can't there's not a whole lot to like improve on the ICBM. It's already
No, there isn't.
pretty
It's
much unstoppable.
they're very simple devices actually, except for the guidance systems.
Yeah.
And once you and the guidance system is mainly active when you first launch it. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
they're ballistic.
Ballistic. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's there
it's like once you've got that right, then
you're
there's not
good.
a hell of a lot to do with it.
Yeah. It's
Um,
but he talked about how the new one is going to have because I guess with the Titan and the Minuteman, like the guidance computers are so interwoven into it, it's pretty much like if you want to change anything, you're almost destroying the missile. He said the new ones are going to be modular, which there's like a quaint almost, like the B-52. The reason it's still flying is because they just rip out the avionics every couple of years,
yeah.
right? And now it's got supercomputers in it, but the plane's been flying since the 50s. It's like, yeah, the new Sentinel is great. He's like, you can just take out the modular to put in a new guidance system, and you can take out the nose cone. Maybe you want a bigger warhead. Maybe you want some bioweapons. You just throw it in there, and it's like, well, that's nice.
Hmm.
There's some there's
Gives
something
you a feeling of warm
there's
fuzzies
something
inside.
down homey about an ICBM that like you and your grandkids can grow old with. Like we don't have to retake the
You can work on it in your garage.
it's very Norman Rockwellish. It's like this old puppy. My grandpappy worked on it. Pappy worked on it. And, it's like taking over the family farm, but you're just kind of taking over the missile
Yeah.
silo.
Well, I mean the thing you have to ask is who's the enemy, because the Russians aren't doing that.
No,
The Chinese aren't doing that.
and that is
Who
the
else has freaking ICBMs?
yeah. You got to start going. Well, what are we really
It's
doing?
it's
It's
welfare for the defense contractors.
it's 100%. It's and like the reason they're doing is I guess they did like a cost analysis and like. And by the way, everything I'm saying, this is not me making fun of Mr. Stump. Mr. Stump's as apolitical as you can get, and he's an incredible historian. This is me making fun of just the gallows humor that is the military industrial complex. I love Mr. Stump, so I don't want anybody to misinterpret this. Um, but ironically enough, he's like a Buddhist practitioner yogi who also just is a master of understanding like hypersonic reentry vehicles and and lower atmosphere thermonuclear detonations. It's a very weird. He comes in, he's always wearing like his like red robe, talking about like meditation and like cessation of the mind. And then, but by the way, the nose cone's shielded with tungsten, so it can come in at Mach 23. But yeah, it is. What a surprise that the defense contractors did an analysis and said,
We need more.
"Fucked.
We need a better missile
We need $1 trillion for a new one." What a shocker.
from so we can defend ourselves against what?
So we can defend our against this. Well, what's that? Well, it's blowback from what? Well, something we did. What? Shut up, Nazi. You're
I
not a
mean, I still
patriot.
don't. I'm still not convinced the Russians have tritium in their warheads.
I know you
So
are. I think honestly, I think that's actually increasingly becoming my argument.
I've noticed on Daily Kos now they've started to put parenthesis around stuff and says we don't actually know how many of their warheads are viable,
Yes.
which they didn't say before in the early stages of the war. But now every time they start talking about the nuclear threat, they're like, well, if even one is viable, that's bad, but we're not sure how many of their warheads. It's like, yes, they have this many warheads, but we don't know how many are viable. And before I published that article on Daily Kos, no one was saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was, I think that caught somebody's ears somewhere, and they're starting to say, well, you know, it because it's about the grift, and the whole thing about the Russian army is about the grift.
Yeah.
It's you know, so yeah, why wouldn't they have stolen the tritium? Because they stole everything else. They're sending soldiers in the field now with nothing,
Yeah. And
and
I
in their
think
civilian shoes with no winter clothes and no weapons and shit. It's like,
I think you
what?
made the best argument for
What?
that. Because like I think the first time you said it, because we eventually did an episode about it and you explained it
Mm-hmm.
very well, and that's what changed my mind. When you first said it, I in my mind, I
It's
guess I just
shocking.
well, the first time you said it, I reflexively and unconsciously just put it in the same mental compartment of in the same way North Korea boasts. Because North Korea, it's a different kind of grift. They actually just don't
Yeah.
have something. They'll be like, we have a hundred
Yeah.
thousand nuclear subs, and it's like, no, they just don't exist. And so you kind
Mhm.
of, it's kind of like, no, you don't. They're just not, and you didn't hit a hole in one. But with
Right.
Russians, it's actually it's almost more plausible.
They were there at one
They
point.
were
They
there at
they
one
were
point,
there. They
but
had it.
the rot that permeates the system, the very nature of the oligarchical corruption, and not just since 91, prior to that as well. It's
Mm.
all you read about it. I mean, that's why Ken
But
Alabek
very especially since 91. I think that the
that
Soviet
accelerated
Union
it.
I think the Soviet Union would have actually been making sure that their warheads were viable. It's post Soviet Union that I think they lost control over a lot of the levers, and this is when these oligarchs moved in and started just stealing
Really,
everything that wasn't nailed down and prying up the shit that was nailed down. And
yeah.
it's it was like the actual Soviet Union. I would have never dared to suggest that
Well,
their nukes
correct.
probably didn't work.
Because though an evil dictatorship, I mean,
They were competent.
an iron fist is an iron fist. I don't care
Yes,
if it's Uncle Sam swinging it or the Soviet
they were
Union.
competently
They'll fucking
evil.
blow your brains out in the prison of Lubyanka basement. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. The
but
fear
but
is
these
strong.
guys, these are like, I mean,
They're in this weird.
they
They're
launched this invasion of a country that they should have stomped. They should have curb stomped, and they're getting their asses kicked.
yeah.
And it's because all of their material was stolen and compromised. All of their troops are demoralized. It's like everything that it's the Soviets. They they would not have done. They would have at least had the sense not to do the invasion if they realized that they were in such a bad position.
Yeah.
And Putin has just been doubling down on his doubling down of his doubling down of his really bad situation. And right now, the last thing I saw was that they think more men have left Russia to avoid the draft than they have successfully drafted for this push that they're trying to do.
Jeff Nyquist was saying that yesterday on here. Something like 180,000 men
Yeah.
have
And
failed.
they've already had the first casualties from people that, I mean, did you see the video of the tank driving over the mines? That they have there's a video online of a Russian tank, taking a right turn, and there are a bunch of mines. They're not even buried. They're just sitting on the fucking ground, clearly visible, and the tank just drives over it, and the it drives over one of the mines, and it explodes and destroys the tank because obviously the driver of the tank was never told, oh, by the way, these things are bad.
Yeah.
That's total lack of training. It's like they obviously told them this goes left and this goes right. It's like a game of battle zone, and beyond that, nothing. It's like don't even drive over these things in the road. It's not even like they're buried. It's like no, these are mines. These are bad. They will blow your fuck. They will blow you up. Someone didn't tell the guy that, and he just drove the tank over it, and kablooey, there goes the tank and all the people who are in it. So it was like, well,
It's
this is where Russia is right now.
man, there is a moment, and it's so easy to get. I mean, and I saw like a GIF, and it was like some Russian soldier like in like a shell hole, and it was like right before he died. I didn't watch the whole video. I didn't want to. And but you just see this guy, and I think the title, it was something snarky. It's like Russian soldier tries to use like incantation protection, and it's just you see this guy, and he's just making the sign of the cross, and like part of me is like, yeah, fuck them for invading, but another part of me is just watching. I'm like, that dude looks like he's several years younger than me. He
Oh, he
doesn't know.
probably is.
He doesn't know Putin. He's he's probably loves his country no different than I do, but he doesn't
Mhm.
have the luxury to say, yeah, fuck it. I instead of going to medical school, I'm gonna make, I've been born into a life of opportunity. And I was just watching it, and there was just a moment where like it's just like Jesus.
No, these people are so fucked.
You just see it then. But even it's just weird just seeing people like in the comments like, good, fucking blow them to pieces. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. And another part of me is just like, well, fuck me for
mm,
you just see this guy scared out of his fucking and the same thing and vice versa. Now this isn't a pro Russia or it could be Ukraine, whatever.
wow.
It's just a dude 5 years younger than me. And I'm like watching it from the comfort of my own apartment on an iPhone. To me, that was probably the most like
Yeah, it's brutal.
visceral thing I've seen of this war was just if if there is a if there is a silver lining to this war, and me being the fucking loser I am, I'm always trying to find the optimism. There is something especially absurd about seeing a modern, and even just from the difference between like 2003 us going into Iraq, which was just as much bullshit as Russia
Oh
going into
yeah.
Ukraine. I'm not giving us a pass. Is just with the total abundance, just the hyper saturation of TikToks and phones. Seeing it, there's another level
Yeah.
of you
Well,
see the war,
we
the kind of war is stupid.
we went through a period if there was Vietnam
Hmm.
and the war was on the news every night. And that's one of the things that traumatized me when I was young.
And
And
and my mom, she always talks about that as well.
and then we went through a period when they really muzzled the media. It's
Yeah.
like to get into Iraq, you had to sign all of these agreements
Uh-huh.
and you had to be very carefully managed. And now we've kind of gone back because for the social media and the openness and all, then it's like, well, you don't have the media the way that they did in Vietnam, but now you've got individuals with their phones doing this thing and it gets it and you can't stop it.
Well,
And so now we're seeing all of this bullshit again live, which we haven't seen for like 20 years because the governments have been able to stop it.
yeah,
And now they can't again because now it's not the professional media that you can
yeah.
put a halter on. Now it's individuals with all of these information devices and connectedness, and you can't really stop that unless you just like lock the whole country down, and that creates a whole nother
The
level of difficulty.
there is yeah, there's something about it that's like video with the same audio quality, the same high resolution that like you get from you and your buddies sending fucking whatever memes to each other,
Hmm.
and you see this, and there is, I mean, the most known is right, war is hell, but another thing you get is war is stupid, and you hear that from a lot of
Hmm.
veterans. They're like, it's just you finish it, and you're like, what? Dale said it. Dale's like, what are we even doing? Like, we're just for what?
Hmm.
And you kind of when it's in a high resolution and it's in the same aspect ratio that fits on your phone, there's something that's very at home. You're right, it's the Vietnamization effect of where you see it, and it's a lot
Yeah.
harder to say, yeah, get. I saw one post on Reddit, and it's this guy, and his uniform's completely singed, his eyebrows and hair burned off. You can tell he's
Yeah.
burned from head to toe. It's just that like bright red. Whole body feels like it's on. His hands are blistering up,
Yeah.
and you just hear him, and he's like crying. He's not even speaking a language. He's just going like ah. And but you see in the comments, people are saying like, is he Russian or Ukrainian? And because some people are saying like, I don't know, like, do I feel bad for him or is it like fuck this guy?
Doesn't
And
matter that much. I mean, this is
to
a
me,
human being.
to
Yeah.
me, it was like, is that not harrowing? The fact that it's a white guy, so none of it's not. Oh well, that's a
Oh
brown.
yeah. If
That's
it
a
was one of
that's a
those guys.
Muslim.
It's not
That's a
one of those
Muslim.
other guys.
But
Yeah.
because they look so alike, you all of a sudden you almost had this mask off moment where people were like, "Is he Ukrainian or Russian?" And it was like, "Wow, you don't know whether to cheer or to say poor guy." You see this guy calling out for mom, and you're like,
Mhm.
to me that there's a special kind of like fuck. And then of course, and then you got the whole QAnon crowd who is saying it's not real. That's my thing. QAnon will never fail to disappoint me because the QAnon crowd says, I have not seen one video of a shell going off. This whole thing is a deep fake. And it's like, that's not
Mhm.
even, at least with like the 9/11 deniers, they kind of have to spin a yarn. You're like, well, what about the video? And they're like, well, it was simulated. And I'm like, all right, like, tell me
Mhm.
more. Tell me more. But QAnon is like factually denying reality. They're like, they're not even putting
Mhm.
out video. I'm like, that's untrue. You can go on any webcam,
Yeah.
find any helicopter being. No, whether or not you want to go on to say this isn't real, I'll listen to your conspiracy. But people are like, it's not
Yeah.
even true.
It's yeah. It's the almost the perfection of the art of brainwashing as performed on a social level to with
Oh, it's
entire populations. Uh, it yeah, and yeah, it's scary. Uh, but on the other hand, this is where we live. This is where, where we find ourselves, and it's like, oh yeah, you grew up. It's just like you wake up one day and find out that you grew up in Oceania and you're living in George Orwell's novel
mm-hmm.
1984. What do you fucking do about it?
Yeah.
So
There's sometimes there's nothing to do but just observe and try to learn from it. Like,
yeah, I witness when you can, but not when it's going to get you killed or whatever. And then uh, it's a fucking crazy world.
there is something just there is something fantastic about QAnon though. That it's just like the full other side of the
Well,
spectrum.
I mean, I remember when I first met you and you said, it's like I love collecting conspiracy theories, especially the low temperature IQ stuff. And it's like, and it was like you were just like because you find it fascinating. Well, the
It's
reason
so
I think
great.
you found it fascinating is that people believe in this shit. That's
Well,
what
yeah.
makes it because if it wasn't for that, it would just be stupid. But it's the fact that people buy into it that makes it more interesting
Yes.
than just, Stephen King wrote another novel that was much worse than you expect a Stephen King novel to be. And but the thing is, this is the world we're living in. These people are voting,
Yeah.
and they're and it's affecting things. So
Yeah.
it's and I think it's been in that time period because we've uh been having these talks for a few years, and when we first started doing this, it was a joke, and it's not a joke anymore. It's
Yeah.
like the world has changed that much in a few years that it's really it's yeah, we're watching craziness go mainstream. And the it's I have a coworker whose hobby is he has a hobby level interest in conspiracy theories very similar to yours. And
Hmm.
so in fact he's actually watched a couple of your podcasts on my recommendation.
Uh,
Yeah. It's, uh but and he has mentioned the same thing. This is it's that it's not funny anymore at a certain level.
I would agree with that, but I also think that there is no realistic lid you can put on that. In much the same way that you get these natural course corrections. You get the
Well, you
flower.
hope you do.
Well, regardless if you do or don't, it is beyond human control. And I'll walk that out. It's from World War II to just 20 years later, you get the flower child movement, free love, premarital sex is no problem. And these are all things I agree with. Do whatever the fuck you want. Go live your life.
Hmm.
And then you get a course correction from that. But the thing is like you have to just let it run its course because it is going to run its course. So people that are like, conspiracies, they're not, for instance, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but it is like a common theme is like the government needs to crack down on misinformation. All you're going to do is validate these things, whether factually or not. The very fact,
Yeah,
the
because who
very act
defines
of
misinformation?
well, the very act of cracking down now makes these things look valid. And even if it doesn't make,
Hmm.
for some people, they're going to go, see, they're cracking down on it because the truth. Other people will go, QAnon's still horseshit. But now we're seeing a very real conspiracy. We're seeing a state power moderate free speech. And that is
No.
so you have to let these things,
Well,
you have to get it out of your system. People will read these conspiracies and you get duped. I've been duped. And guess what? It's a better lesson than anything anyone, someone could tell me, Tommy, X isn't true. X isn't true. And fuck you. I have to go through it, see it, believe it, make a fool of myself, and then sit there and have to send out apologies and go, I was fucking wrong. That will teach me more. I stopped drinking because of like my own panic attacks, not because anyone ever told me you should really stop. You have to experience, a hangover where you're vomiting out of your ass and having a panic attack before you're like, I don't need a motivational speaker telling me to put down the devil's water. I don't want it anymore. You have to get too fucking high to go, I don't want an edible. You can't see a you can't see an ad on Reddit that's like, are you smoking too much? You don't give a fuck. You have to be the walls have to be crawling and you have to hear Satan in the other room before you go, I'm done. I don't fucking want to take acid at 8 a.m. on a Wednesday anymore. I'm finished. So like although these are dangerous, there's nothing else to do. Because if you crack down, they're just gonna get more unhinged. And then you're gonna get people who were maybe in the middle, they're gonna go, I'm not even on board with the QAnon people, but I am on board for free speech. So like people just have to get burned and it's gonna be a messy
well,
process, but
I mean, and that's there's a thing there too, which is uh I don't know whether Alex Jones is really that stupid or not. I tend to think not, but uh, free speech has never been completely free. I mean,
sure,
there's always been an understanding that if your speech hurts somebody, then it's going to be a tort and it's going to be actionable. And what Alex Jones did to the Sandy Hook parents is like the textbook example of speech that nobody in their right mind would ever say should be free.
sure.
I mean, it is, and he has just doubled and tripled down on it. He's ignored the courts. And and I don't know what the dude is thinking because it's like there was a comment on one of the boards, talking about the judgment against him. Uh and of course he had the class to go while the judgment was being read in court. He was live on his channel InfoWars bragging that no, they would never see any of the money. And by the way, you should send me more money because these families will never see it, but I need it to fight them because the grift never stops. And the thing is you know,
It's a weird
people like
hill to die on.
it, it's not even weird. It's just totally fucking stupid because, you know, who thinks that you insulting the judges in the court system at the moment they are bringing a verdict down on you? How do you think this will ever work out in a positive way? It is absolutely stupid
Yeah,
by any metric.
it's and like theoretically and in a perfect world, like no insult against a judge or a court should matter. But we also live in a real world where like I do have the freedom of speech to walk outside and like hard R drop the N word. That technically I is my freedom of speech.
Mhm.
That being said, I probably shouldn't do it in like South Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now, if I have a GoPro and a team of people and a high powered lawyer, I would be able to sue the people that would,
The
without a
ones that
doubt,
beat you
would.
half to death after you did it. Yes.
Yes. That being said, there's also like a realism, right? I have the freedom of speech to say whatever I want to my mom. And no, my dad legally cannot beat the shit out of me. That being said, what in God's name do you think is actually going to happen? So there is a
Mhm.
difference between like what we should do, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive towards that. We should strive towards a
Yeah.
society where you
And
can fucking say whatever you want. But there's also a realism, right?
and Alex Jones seems to have completely separated himself from that. I mean,
Yeah,
he
it's
is operating in some weird alternate reality that I'm just like the craziest people I know of on either end of the political spectrum would all go, dude, that is really stupid. That I mean, it's just there's no ups. It's like, what is the fucking upside to
it's
acting like this? You've known. It's like
it's a
when
very
you
odd
are,
technicality.
yeah. I mean, he's known for
It's
close to
burning a
20 years
flag in
now.
front of it's burning a flag on Dale's front lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, or on the street in front of Dale's house. Legally, you can. Is there any rule against burning or whatever? Let's just say you're fine. Let's say you're right off his Let's say you buy a plot of land next to Dale and you burn an American flag in your fireplace, in for him to see. You are in the right, technically.
But you're also,
Dead. Like,
yes. It's
so and does that
it's
make it right?
not a good
No.
idea. But
No, you legally should be allowed to do that next to Dale. But it's like, dude, that's an odd technicality to put your life or at least your entire net worth on.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, the exceptions to the First Amendment have always been based on whether someone is getting hurt by it.
Yeah.
And there's been variations in that. The Sedition Act was actually about, speaking against the draft for World
Mhm.
War One. And frankly, the draft in World War One was a stupid thing. Our participation in World War One was a stupid thing. Speaking against the draft in World War One is a perfectly fucking sensible thing to do. People spent years in jail for
Mhm.
speaking against it because of the Alien Sedition Act, and it had to be struck down by the Supreme Court after many years and much argument. But the argument was that it was hurting people. It was, it was shouting. That was where the shouting
Yeah.
fire in a crowded theater came from, was from that case. And, it was because you are hurting people by your speech. What Alex Jones has been doing for the last 20 years is the textbook definition of hurting people by your speech. He has been directing legions of mad drone assholes to harass these people and being completely unrepentant about it. I mean, it's like if you were trying to erect a case to
Yeah.
justify reigning in the First Amendment, you could not do a better job than what Alex Jones has been doing since Sandy Hook. It is the textbook definition of why the First Amendment can't be absolute. And he is the textbook reason for that. And he seems to be completely fucking clueless about it.
It's I almost feel like if he had just done shows about it, as despicable as it would. So for instance, like I knew a guy from
Yeah.
college and he and I were kind of friends back in the day. But it was like a year or two after my brother died. And I was admittedly a piece of shit. But I remember he finally messaged me one day and the first part of the message was true. He was like, you've been abusing the fact that like you lost your brother to suicide. It's like your race card. No one can call you out on it, and you're being an asshole. And in hindsight, you're not wrong. But he was like, and then he went on to say, he was like, your whole family is using this. And then there was a moment where like I don't think I've ever been that hot under the collar. And I've thought about it years since. I haven't talked to the guy in like 7 years. But I do think about it. And I remember initially I was
The
like,
fact that you are still thinking about it today illustrates how horrible it was.
that being said, I still think he is allowed to say it. I don't ever want to talk to him again. And I think if it was in a public place, I would feel different. But I always try to look at that. And as much as that hurts to think about, and I didn't even tell my parents till years later. And even with them, I kind of watered down what it was. I always put that in my mind and I go, how do I feel about, and it hurts.
The
But
difference, the difference though, is that the Sandy Hook parents aren't complaining that Alex Jones said bad things about them.
sure. Well, and
They're
that's and
complaining
that's what
that
I'm
he
getting
said
to.
those bad things and other people came in based on the things he was saying because he had an audience, because he had uh this and they started harassing and he was guiding the harassment.
And
So
and
he
that's
wasn't just talking, he was actually directing an attack.
well, and that's what I'm getting to is in the years since I've concluded in my mind, as painful as that was, rationally, I think that guy was still allowed to say that. That's the point I was trying to make. If Alex just, and granted, he said this privately, even if he said it on a public platform, I still think he's in his right to say, I don't ever want to talk to him again. And I'd probably kill him if he's ever near my family. But I think I really do try to exercise my own plasticity of my mind. And what I've been able to conclude is, as reprehensible as it is, if Alex had just said it on his show, gross, but I think it's allowed. It's
Yeah, well,
it's
yeah.
dri it's driving people to it that I do. I'm also not a lawyer, so I'm not going to die on this hill. So I'm all, I don't even fucking know.
Well, no, that was actually their argument. I mean, it's like I followed the case. It's like it's
Okay,
not that he said it was that created the judgment. It's that
it's
it
the
created all of
harassment.
this harassment. And it's not that he accidentally created all this harassment, is that it
Yeah,
went on for years. He knew it was going on. He knew he was causing it. He knew that he was encouraging it. He
yeah,
kept doing it even after the cease and desist letters and all of that. It's like he knew
yeah,
what he was doing. And what he was doing was not just talking. He was orchestrating a remote control attack
yeah.
on
Go to their
these people.
houses. Yeah, and that it's
Yes.
reprehensible. And that's again, I've tried to walk that out of my mind. Is like, now if this person had said this and had people
And
come
this
to
is
my,
also going to be the key in the January 6th thing
yeah,
when it
oh yeah,
comes
no,
out
it's
because it's going to turn out what the last hearing that they did a few days ago illustrated that Trump knew.
yeah,
He knew he lost. He knew the big lie was a lie. He knew that what he was trying to do was foment violence and an insurrection so that he could disrupt the government. He knew.
yeah,
That was what they established with this. And none of that is about speech. You know, that was about, yeah, you can say whatever you want, but when you're using your speech as a tool to foment insurrection, disrupt the government, and literally ask it's like he wanted people to die so that they would have an excuse to invoke the
The
Insurrection
Insurrection Act.
Act. Okay, that is that's not speech. That
Yeah.
is way over a line. Uh, and it's very similar, actually, if you look at the mechanics of it, to what happened to Alex Jones.
Hmm.
It's, they start with what sounds like speech. Well, I just said some stuff, but it's like, well, it's no, it's what you said and how you said it and who you said it to and what you were hoping would happen after you said it that
Mm.
makes it not free speech because uh yeah, we don't have the fire in a crowded theater anything anymore. That was overturned. That was
Hmm.
recognized as a bogus argument by a later court, partly because the idea that speaking against the draft was not a thing that should be.
Sure.
You
And
shouldn't have to go to jail for protesting, but inciting a riot is still not protected speech.
yeah, and that is, I think that's an important distinction you made about the against the draft is you then have to put on your thinking cap,
Mhm.
and because not this podcast, we wouldn't be controversial here. You have to put on your
Oh,
thinking
never.
cap and go, theoretically, how would you defend Alex Jones? And I don't. And I want to be clear about that. I got to meet him. I'm not going to say that he wasn't a nice guy. People are like, "How do you feel about meeting him?" I'm like, he still gave me a hug and a free meal. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say it wasn't fun.
Mm. Oh
Okay,
no, totally evil people can be very nice when you meet them in person. That's, how people are.
Hitler's dog loved him.
Yeah. Well, lots of people met Hitler and found him warm and conversational
He was
and
on the front of time. I
enjoyed his
mean,
company.
it's
It's
um, but to have to put on this thinking cap, you have to look at something like, right, speaking out against the draft. Think about, the greatest generation, Uncle Sam. Now go 30 years
Mhm.
backwards on that. Think of how entrenched it is that, you listen to daddy government. They really weren't vindicated for a long time that it is okay. Now if someone says, people are like, Trump's a draft dodger. I've seen my liberal friends be like, I'm not going to criticize him for that. Like, yeah, dodge it. My uncle was drafted in Vietnam, and it fucked him up with PTSD for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he
And
even he would always say,
there were people who ran to Canada and couldn't come back to the United States for over 20 years. Finally, when I
yeah.
think it was, uh, actually, I don't even remember who
So
pardoned
like,
them all.
I'll never criticize people for being a draft dodger. I've learned too much about just how fucked every war is. Even the quote unquote just wars like World War II, which I do think were just. There are still
No.
people being minted millionaires and the point is we do have to exercise our own expansion of potential ideas that we maybe don't agree with. That there have been
Yeah.
scenarios where it's not until a century later that we go, well, that probably was right to question the draft. That
Draft dodging
was
wasn't really a very big problem in two because of Pearl Harbor thing and that we were attacked and it was like they were the bad guys. It
sure.
became a much bigger deal with Vietnam because no one could figure out why the fuck we were fighting these people.
And that's the thing is, and if you're in Vietnam, like, or if you're in that era, like, you don't have the benefit of waiting to say, I told you so. Like, if you're
Yeah.
drafted, you might be one of the 55,000 men killed. So, like, there
Hmm.
is an importance in, and this does not to say that I'm defending Alex Jones because I'm not, but there is an importance to go, sometimes the hill can be died on. And I think that, the questioning the Sedition Act is sometimes you're right. Sometimes you do have to revisit it and go, no, they were right. That being said, so I could understand theoretically, potentially, where he might have been going. In the same way that I get that Hitler was a vegan because he didn't want to harm animals. I can walk it out to a degree, right?
Mm.
I see what you're saying. I don't agree with you. Hey, Hitler, I get you're probably angry about not being able to get into art school. I was banned from YouTube. Maybe we're kindred spirits. That's going to be taken out of context. That
Oh,
being
very
said,
much.
you're going down with me because you're on the fucking screen.
I
Uh,
know.
that being said, no, you're a demon and you should be hung till you're dead. That's what I mean. Is right. It's
Yeah.
even Stalin said. FDR and Churchill wanted there to be no trial at Nuremberg. It's a fun fact. Stalin is the one that said there has to be a trial, otherwise this will come back to bite us.
Hmm.
Give
And
credit where it's due.
Stalin was the one who was fucking right.
It you got to give credit where it's due. So like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, you can never in 100% broad brush one way or the other. That being said, I'm not for dying on this hill of harassing the Sandy Hook. It's gross, and if you just kept to the broadcast, yeah, I guess that is protected speech. But
It's the horde of acolytes
yeah,
harassing these people in real life, and
that is why
you're egging them on. And when you've been told you're egging them on, keeping doing it instead of
he's
backing
had a
off.
lot of off
He
ramps,
had many, many chances.
and that's I can't. That is why I go out of my way on this podcast to cover all of my bases and always say not advocating violence. Even if it's just Dale telling a story and getting fired up, I always insert it. People don't like it, but there's a reason why. Because I have to at least be able to go, hey, look, I did
I'm
call
not
a
telling you
timeout.
to do this shit. This
Yes.
is not, yeah.
And I say it all the time, this is not advocating for violence. And if anyone gets riled up from this podcast, cool, get riled up, go to the gym and work it out. I'm not telling you to go somewhere and do something.
Yeah.
So if I'm 32 and I've been doing this for almost 3 years and I can exercise that idea and that restraint and the ability to say, I was wrong, I have to look at this and go, I don't know if it's ego. I don't think he's a stupid guy. He's made his whole empire, like it or not.
I,
I think it's ego. I think it's a weird thing to
I
do.
think, yeah, I mean, I think people like that, and Trump himself is also, I think, a lot like that, and that
Sure.
they have gotten away with it for so long that they think that the well is infinite,
Yeah.
and they don't realize that there actually is a limit. There has always been a limit. They've managed to skirt it. They've managed to vault over it or climb over it or avoid it for so far in some ways. But eventually, if you keep butting your head against it, you're going to find out that you're screwing yourself. And I think that's, I mean, the article on Daily Kos about it said, it's like they say that Alex Jones is mocking the verdict, but none of his acolytes are. They're all shitting their pants. They're like, this is, you know, he is apparently the only person in his circle who is like putting the brave face on. Everyone else knows it's screwed.
There's there's a
And
time to call it. And it's there, man, there's really no worse feeling than being wrong and then knowing you're wrong. It's
mhm.
terrible if we've all been there where you have to go, I was wrong.
Yep.
It sucks. You're blushing, your tail's between your it is a shit feeling. It sucks, right? It's humbling though, and you can grow from it, and any decent person will acknowledge your apology, right? It's a shitty
Yes.
thing that we all have to go through. It's like being an asshole, it's like getting too drunk and saying something. It sucks, but that's how you grow. And other friendly life lessons from Tommy and Roger. But like, it's from some, the more you know. But
But it's true. And yeah, it's like, being wrong is part of being human. I
yeah,
mean, everyone should have the right to be wrong
yeah.
until, it's pointed out to you and you find out, and then you do the apology thing. And the thing is that Alex Jones has just like brazenly refused to do the apology
Well,
thing or to admit that he was wrong in any way.
the worst thing though is like, so he's been on Rogan twice or three times. In his second episode, Alex Jones returns with Eddie Bravo, which is one of the funniest Rogan episodes ever. It sucks because for 30 minutes, Rogan has him on the beginning. This came out in like 2017, but he does walk it back. which is why it's so weird to see him dying. There's it's like Rogan's like top 5 most viewed episodes. For the first 30 minutes, he goes out and says, I was wrong. I was going into a psychosis. I thought everything was a conspiracy. And now I realize I'm wrong. Which is very weird to see. Dude, like you already did the apology. You already took the band-aid off. You already took the chip on the ego.
Damn.
Yeah, it's episode 1450. It's one of my there's one summer where I listen to it like every day. It's fucking hilarious. It's from that episode that the text of the Alex Jones hoodie I made. That's the one. It's fucking great. They go on aliens and Nazis and all that shit. But like, he had already done the thing on the biggest platform on the world. He had already done the apology, which is that much more absurd. He already took the ego hit. He's sitting there. He's not
All you
defending
gotta
himself.
do is lie back and just
Even if you don't mean the apology, at least you did it.
say yeah.
Just suck the dick for 10 minutes. Like,
And he did it.
yeah, that's the worst part.
He did it.
He already did it. It was 2017, 2018, whenever the episode came out. I think it was more than 30 minutes. I think it was an hour of him
Then
going
he
like
fucked himself for no reason.
That's what I'm saying. Is like he already goes out and he doesn't even try to defend it. He was like, Joe, I was wrong. He's like, you see so many conspiracies that you go into a psychosis, and he goes, and I admit I became a caricature of myself and I'm wrong. Get the fucking you. So it's like
so what the fuck is he up to?
That's what makes it so much worse, is if like he never even did an apology, I could be like, well, maybe it's his ego, but like he's already done an apology. So what is this? That's where I can't justify. I met him. He's a nice guy. If anyone was going to give him the benefit of the doubt, it was me. I can't. Why would you not, even if you don't believe it, just say fucking sorry? At least have a shrewd business. You want to go full sociopath, at least have a shrewd business mind to go, fuck it, just say sorry. No one's going to stop listening to you. Your fans aren't going to go anywhere. God. That's the worst part. Yeah, it's I knew a kid in high school. I won't say who he was, and he had an older brother who was in my older brother's class, and they were good friends. He was like the toughest kid at school. And fuck, we gotta wrap this one up in like 5 minutes. God damn it.
Yeah.
Sorry. For anybody listening, I've got a phone call.
No, I understand. You told me this is hard.
No, not you. Just me being I'm enjoying this conversation too much. But I knew a kid in high school, and so who he was. He had an older brother who was like the toughest kid in school. My older brother was friends with them. They played football together. This guy's just a fucking motherfucker. And he had an older brother that was probably my oldest brother's age. They didn't know each other at different schools. That guy died in college his freshman year from acute alcohol intoxication. I think was mixing some other drugs. It's in the news, and he had gone to our high school. I didn't know him. He was years and years ahead of me. Very sad, right? It's you see this, the kid I knew, we were both freshmen, and then my brother's friend, they were both, I think, seniors, 17. I lost a brother at 23. I can't even imagine being 17. Whatever. There's a kid in the class of the older brother, call him Bob, and they were all getting ready to graduate. And so I think they're, who's what, and this kid was like an athletic stud, always dating the hottest girls. And this other kid, say Sam wrote, I want to say in his yearbook or on Facebook or something, said, Bob, this kid's most likely to succeed. She's most likely to date a athlete. He's most likely to die his freshman year of college. So Bob finds out about this, walks out into the hallway, sees the kid, and I think one punched him, like knocked him out. Black eye, like the kid fell, hit his head on like the water fountain. The principal called in Bob and told him, he was like, I get why you did what you did. And he's like, but you understand like why I have to suspend you for like a day. And like the kid is like, I know. And like gave the principal a hug. And the principal like had to send him home because like he had to establish that it's not the Wild West. But even that was like, if anyone else had punched anyone out cold, they'd be expelled. Even the principal was like, yeah, I'm going to give you like, you have to go home for the rest of the day and you can come back tomorrow. Yeah. But the thing is, like, even the principal was like, Yeah, you can't say that to someone that just lost a sibling and then just and not expect to get knocked out cold. That's what I mean. Is it right? No. But at the same time, yeah, I am in my rights to burn this flag and send a video to Dale. But it's also my funeral, And it's until we live in a perfect world where nobody dies from cancer and there's no crime and it's whatever and you metamorphosis of prime intellect and go by the book and there's whatever. We're still
I
not.
don't know if we even have enough time for that here.
Yeah. But yeah, but that's my
Pretty
point.
regular readers have already heard all that.
But that's my point is like, no, you can't punch someone in a private Catholic school. And yeah, he got a token suspension. But even the principal was like, yeah, I'll give you you're suspended for 3 hours. You can come back tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's like,
I can understand why he did that, but
but it was also his like silent like
wasn't right.
he wasn't, but he's also like, I kind of get why you hit him, and like so that's what, and I think like none of the teachers gave the kid homework or something. They're like, yeah, you just come back tomorrow. Like everyone knew that there had to be this like token penalization because like no, you can't just cold cock a kid in the hallway, but not a single person was going to go die on that other hill. That's what I mean. Is like use your brain.
Well, that's the thing is you have to understand the context.
Yeah,
And that's where Jones seems to have lost the thread. Is like he either didn't understand or didn't care about the whole context that he was setting up.
I just don't get it.
Larger society, and it became huge. That is, it's like how can you not be aware of
I don't see the
how
strategy.
this is perceived? It's and he obviously is not a stupid man. You don't get to be where he is by
Which is
not.
that much weirder.
Yeah, but it was an extremely stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like you said, well, you at least met the man. I never have,
Yeah.
but it was and of course his acolytes are all raging and venting and going all apocalypto and shit. And it's like, it's like this is. Meanwhile, there's a midterm election coming up in a few weeks, and uh the Republican candidate for Senate in Alabama turns out to be a real fucking moron. Did you see that?
Who?
Herschel Walker,
That's for Georgia.
Georgia.
He went because
Oh,
he's like the most legendary University of Georgia player ever.
okay.
I don't know. I don't follow football, but
Well, some southern state.
it's all the
As
same.
Trey Walker said, there's always some southern state. It's like it's like, when the southern state we live in does something stupid, we can at least point at that other state and say, well, these dumbasses are at least stupider than we are.
Arkansas to North Carolina to the tip of Florida, in my mind, is just one area.
But do you see the dude pulled out, in the debate with the Democratic candidate, pulled out a toy badge and tried to pretend that he was a police officer?
Excuse me?
Yes, that really happened. The Republican candidate for Senate pulled out a prop toy badge and said, "Oh no, I'm a police officer. I've been." It's like, and the debate moderator was like, "No, that is a prop. You're not allowed to use a prop. This is what agreed upon for the debate."
I don't even.
It was
Why?
embarrassing. It was. And this is and the whole thing is the GOP. People have been asking people in the GOP for a week, why are you backing this man? He's got a total anti-abortion stance on any circumstances, no exceptions, except that he asked to he paid for an abortion for his baby mama, and then when she got pregnant again, asked her to abort that one, and she didn't, even though he asked him. And it's like this dude is just like, and they're like, well, regaining control of the Senate is more important than the fact this guy is a total moron
Okay,
and
okay. So
loser.
he has an he's an honorary deputy in the same way that like if I gave a speech at some school, I would get like an honorary scholarship. I wouldn't actually call myself.
Exactly.
So okay, here's a perfect example of dying on a hill. Yes, technically he does have an honorary deputyship. However, one, it was not even the same badge, so at least show your
No,
honorary thing. And two, you, you're not actually. It's like why I always distinguish that I
his
got into
argument
medical.
was that he was a police officer, and he wasn't.
It's
He
like
never was.
it's how I always say I got into medical school, and I'm very proud of that. And I always correct people when they go, "You're a doctor," and I go, "No, I'm not. I got in, and I'm very proud of that. But I am not a doctor. I have a biology degree." In that sense,
Yes.
I'm not going to die on that hill, right?
Yeah.
There is, yeah, technically I did, but no, I am not. Yeah, and Steve Jobs got like 30, honorary scholarship, right? Alumni or big time donors will often
Look,
get like the honorary, but you're not a fucking doctor.
my father actually has a PhD in
Yeah.
physics, and he does not like to be called Dr. Williams.
Mo- mo-
He never has because he says, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though the honorific actually does apply to him.
He
He
is.
thinks that people will misunderstand it and think he's something he's not, and he doesn't want people to do that.
I've interviewed tons of PhDs on here. I'd say 9 out of 10 are like, you don't have to call me doctor. Like, you
Yeah.
don't do that. Right. Because doctor is kind of like you're a physician or you're not.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to, yeah.
Yeah, and leaning on that is well, and what Walker did, and he pulls out
That's
this
for that's
toy
I just looked at
badge
it. That's
in the
retarded.
fucking debate.
What's the I mean, if you wanted to, you'd pull out the honorary thing and you'd use it as like a maybe
I
side
mean,
note. But
how
dude,
stupid do you have to be?
that's me coming on here with a white coat and framing my acceptance letter with like the uneven stamp from Miami from 8 years ago. It's a weird, it's a weird hill to right. It's a weird hill to die on. It's not. What are you doing?
And the thing is, the GOP is standing behind this guy
Well,
because
I can't co-sign that.
as
I can't and won't.
as fucked up as he is, they're like, well, we have to get control of the Senate. If this guy is the linchpin to that, it doesn't matter what a fucking stupid weirdo he is.
Fire away, Putin. I'm done.
I mean, like,
I'm fuck.
seriously?
I'm done. Hey, Putin, double dog dare you. Let's see if that tritium's real or not. If it's real, you called my bluff. Radioactive egg on my face. But you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Fire away. What are we preserving here? What are we preserving here? Maybe this is the end of maybe we have too much luxury. The fact that
I
like
mean, you're feeling bad about this. You got to remember, I live in Louisiana, where our Democratic governor signed into law one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country because he's pro-life,
yeah,
even though he's a Democrat.
just fire. Beep. Hey
I'm just
Putin.
like,
Putin, do it. Maybe
aren't you
this is
late for your
maybe
phone call?
maybe I am. I am. He's already called once and I've ignored. I shouldn't actually. That's very rude of me. I shouldn't. Yes, we should be deserving of nuclear war, but no, I shouldn't be ignoring phone calls. That is very rude. Fucking forgot I had to do that. Thank you, Roger. I gotta wrap this bitch up. I gotta call him back and fucking make up some lie. Hey, I wasn't just
See
yelling
you
at
in a week or
Herschel Walker.
two, whatever.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll be here. Metaverse is a prime intellect. Go buy the book. It's a fantastic read because the end's coming, people. Roger.